Welcome to ReThink You, bringing you ideas, inspiration, and motivation to start living the life you were created to live. Here is your host, author, trainer, speaker, and coach, and founder of ReThink You, Kim Levings.
Well, hello, it's Kim Levings, and welcome back to the ReThink You podcast. I'm looking forward to bringing you a great guest again today who has got some awesome stories to tell. But before we start the conversation, just a quick reminder. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe and become a member of our community. And more excitingly, on September 1st, I will be launching free coaching. You heard that right, free coaching every Wednesday. And to become a part of that and to join in, which is a great opportunity to take coaching for a test drive, make sure you look for the ReThink You community on Facebook. Become a follower, but once you're in that group, you will see the invitations into the Coaching with Kim Facebook group. It is by invitation only. You do need to be approved into the group. So you want to make sure that you go ahead and do that soon. Plus, ReThink You, I'm distributing incredible content these days, and you want to make sure that you're a subscriber. So if you've stumbled on this podcast because perhaps you know the guest or for some other reason, make sure that you subscribe to the various things, including the podcast. Go to rethinkyou.com and become a subscriber. I give my subscribers early warning of new things happening and some great discounts along the way. So you want to be part of my community. Now, let me tell you about today's guest. Art Berlanga, they call him Coach B, is an educator, a football coach, a motivational speaker, and a winner mindset coach. He is also a leadership coach and an author. Coach Berlanga has been teaching both young people and adults for 12 years and has been coaching football for 15 years. Coach Berlanga is from Soledad, California, which is up in Monterey County. Coach Berlanga has been awarded the Golden Whistle Award for his leadership and influence in his community. He was named Coach of the Year and recognized as Leader of the Year for the city of Gonzales, California. He was also awarded by the U.S. Marine Corps and Glacier Clinics the Semper Fi Coach Award of Northern California. He was recently received the Who's Who Alumni Award from his alma mater university. Coach Berlanga has a bachelor's degree in English literature, a master's degree in kinesiology, physical education, and he currently resides in Salinas, California with his wife, Jessica, and their 2 young children. I met Art during a course we were in last year in 2020, and I loved hearing his story, and I followed his progress, and he just goes from strength to strength. And I decided it was high time I introduced him to the ReThink You audience. So let's jump into the conversation. Well, Art, welcome to the ReThink You podcast, and thanks for joining us today. I know it's super early in California.
It's okay. Early bird gets the worm, right, Kim?
Right, Art, absolutely. So, Art, I'm really looking forward to hearing your story. And I know that, people often get off track in their lives because they do what they think other people want them to do, and they lose touch with their own self-image and their self-worth. You're one of those people that knew what you wanted to do and you just went after it. So why don't you take a few minutes and tell us your story?
Yeah, so I'm a California kid. I was raised here, but I was born in the East Coast. I was born in Charleston, South Carolina. And The reason for that is because my dad was in the military. He was in the Navy. He served in the Navy. So grew up in California, and I live in a very agricultural community, meaning we're a lot of field workers, a lot of farm workers, where we pick a lot of produce. It's all your fruits and vegetables that we serve and feed all of America with, right? So where I'm at, it is low economic because we have a lot of migrant workers who come from out of the country, specifically Mexico, and they work in the field and serve in the field. So I come from that type of background where my father, my grandparents all worked in the fields growing up, right? So very humbling beginnings. And my father made a choice. He said, I don't want this life for my children. So he became a firefighter. He served in the Navy. After he got out of the Navy, he served as a firefighter here locally in the Monterey County, specifically the city of Salinas. And I grew up in a small town called Soledad, which is 30 miles south of Salinas. So my dad would commute to work. And I grew up really falling in love with sports early on, Kim. I got to elementary school. I remember around fourth grade, I really developed this passion for the game of basketball, right? I really enjoyed playing basketball. So I would get to school early and play basketball with my friends, and there would be a teacher out there who would bring the basketballs out for us. And early in the morning, around 7:00 in the morning, we'll play a good 45 minutes before school would start. So I had this passion for sports early on. And as I got into middle school and high school, I started playing football. And I had to make an educational decision, Kim. I was like, okay, I'm 5'10". There's not many 5'10" NBA basketball players, right, in the NBA or college for that matter. So I was like, you know what? Let me look up my height. So what I did was I went online and I looked up the average height for a football player for my position that I played. So the position I played was a defensive back. So I did that. And I looked it up, and sure enough, Kim, the average height for a defensive back at the corner position was 5'10". So I was 5'10". So I was like, okay, I have a chance. I have a shot, right? So I worked hard. I worked diligently. And every morning when I got to high school, Kim, I don't know what it was, but I had this drive and this desire to I understood that what I lacked physically, I had to make up in work ethic, right? I had to make up with my IQ. I had to make up by learning the game of football even better than most teenagers at my age during that time. So Kim, I would wake up early in the morning, train at 6:00, go to class, practice after school, and then do the homework and be a student after school, right? So I could stay eligible, so I continue to play. And I did that early on. My parents were very smart as far as how they raised me. And what I mean by that is when I would do anything wrong or didn't meet their standards or expectations in the household or even in the classroom, they would take sports away from me because they knew how much I enjoyed it, how much passion it brought to my life. So, and that's all it took for me to straighten up was if I had to miss a practice or miss a game, I was not going to make the same mistake twice, right? So I became the first person in my family. My twin brother and I have an identical twin brother, and we were the first one in our family to play a collegiate sport, right? First one. Wow. Second generation, my dad was first generation coming from Mexico. My mom was from the island of Guam, right? So I'm second generation. So my parents provided this life for this opportunity, right? That they didn't have. So I took full advantage of it. So our brother and I both went off to Colorado Mesa University in Grand Junction, Colorado, on the western part of the state. And we played college football. And I had a great time. I had a great experience. I had some great relationships built, some great coaches, some great professors. And I tell you what, though, the thing that I took the most out of that chapter of my life, that season of my life of playing football, had nothing to do with football. And it was actually my college professor. So my college professor, the reason why I even speak today and have the confidence to speak today is because of her. And in class, Kim, I would never speak. I would never participate. I was very introverted in the classroom. And my teacher noticed that about me. And she asked me to stay after class one day, Kim, and she said, Art, why don't you participate in my class? Because I just would not participate. And I said, Dr. Neal, her name was Dr. Neal, like, to be quite honest with you, I lack the confidence. I don't feel I'm articulate or as intellectual as my peers, as my classmates. And she looked at me and she paused and she said, I'll never forget this moment. She says, you couldn't be more wrong. You couldn't be more wrong. I've read your body of work. I've read the papers and the assignments you have turned in. That's completely opposite of how I see you. And that day, it changed how I saw myself from that moment on. So every day after that class, Kim, I spoke and participated in every class discussion. So it brought this thing out of me that I didn't know existed. And as we talk about belief or borrowed belief, which I share often with my students and my student athletes that I teach on a daily basis, is that, hey, even though you might not believe in yourself, but borrow my belief until you do, because I'm a living proof of that, right? I borrow my professor's belief. Although I didn't believe what she was telling me at that time, I believed her conviction. I believed her passion that she saw within me. So until it became my very own, I had to borrow her. So that's kind of my journey in a nutshell for the most part. And I'm using that to this very day. You know, I speak every day, Kim. Every day I'm speaking in front of students, faculty, staff, you know, professional development, us here doing it this morning, right, on your show. So that moment really changed the trajectory of not only my life, but how I saw myself.
That's so powerful, Art. I so enjoy that story. And as I listen to you, I recognize that the power of somebody else's belief in you is sometimes all that you need. And I speak to so many people, as you know, I'm also a speaker and coach. And when I work with people, if they don't see something within themselves, I always advise them, go find somebody who sees in you what you don't see and let their belief fuel you to get you started. And you're just testimony to that. So really well done. And I know too, that when people listen to these stories, they don't always recognize the fact that success is not always a smooth path. Sometimes you can have some bumps and setbacks, and it's more like a roller coaster than a smooth sail. So talk to us in terms of how you get yourself through some of your setbacks. I'm sure you've had a few bumps and bruises along the way, if you wouldn't mind sharing one or two.
Those setbacks, the failures in life, I've learned to embrace it. I'm not resistant towards anything I either come up short on, if I try or make an attempt and I fail, because I learn more from those moments than I ever do when I do win or when I am successful, right? And in those moments of, disappointment and setbacks or letdowns or what have you, where things just didn't go according to plan or how you envisioned it, get up and try again, because it's shaping you. Little do you know, it is shaping you. And that's what makes your story, is because you turned your mess, what you thought it was a mess, into a message, right? You turned your misery, your pain into your ministry. So these very things that we experience on a daily basis, like you said, life is a roller coaster, but it makes the story that much better. It makes it that much better.
Right. Do you have an example of when you went through that one of those valleys, Art? So
Absolutely.
People can say, okay, this guy's for real. He hasn't had a perfect life,
Absolutely. So I remember when I was still a student athlete, I was a collegiate student athlete, and I had chronic dislocations in my shoulder. So it required surgery. So here I thought my career possibly might be over. I was like, man, I'm not gonna be able to fulfill my dream of finishing out college football. And I worked hard. It really tested my desire. It really tested my will and how bad I really wanted it, right? So I rehabbed it. I did all the things I needed to do. I followed my physician's expertise, and I did everything I could to recover and get back to health. And I did that very thing. And I was able to finish my college career, overcoming that injury. And mentally, I can see how certain players that I've either coached or played with or watched from afar, is that a lot of them have this mental block when they have a significant injury where they require surgery. Some of them never recover from that, right? And they're never the same. So I take great pride in being a finisher. I take great pride in overcoming those doubts. When I was growing up, like I mentioned earlier, I wasn't the biggest guy. So I had a lot of people doubting me. This guy's not fast enough. He's not smart enough. He's not big enough. He's not strong enough. But there's one thing about me that you don't know. I'm going to use what you tell me what I can't do as fuel to my fire to prove you wrong, right? I'm going to prove you wrong. You tell me the worst thing anyone can do to me is tell me that I can't do something. Because once you say that to me, it's on. It is.
Well, that may be the best thing they can say, right? Because that's what fuels your engine.
Absolutely.
I love that. And I'm sure that people are going to enjoy sort of learning from that point, because so many young people today, I think, are too hard on themselves. And when they do hit a setback, they allow it to affect them mentally. And it was interesting because just yesterday I was in a conversation with an orthopedic surgeon who's head of a musculoskeletal clinic. And we were talking about the impact of thinking on the body and how your spinal cord actually can have negative and positive changes based on the energy fields coming from your thinking. So, if you think back to that, obviously you learned a lot from your father in terms of some of these principles, but what would you say are some of the key principles for athletes in particular to hold on to when they go through an injury or a setback?
They have to constantly be in either remembrance or some kind of daily poster or whatever it may be, right? We talk about morning routines and what have you. So that's what I was able to develop in my life later on, as far as understanding the importance of a routine. I kind of always did it, even as a teenager and as an adult, but I just never knew the benefits of it, right? So, or what I was doing, I was just doing it just because I wanted to do it. But have the goal, whatever your goal is, you have to make sure that's front and center. You have to, right? Either writing it down or having a big vision board or having a reminder on your phone or a picture or a screensaver or whatever it may be, a wallpaper. But every day you need to remind yourself, okay, what is the goal? What am I trying to accomplish here, right? Am I going to be an entrepreneur? Do I want to have my own business one day? Do I want to restore my marriage, or do I want to restore my family, or maybe I just want to be the best professional I can be, best leader I can be? Well, you need to have a goal. What you have to be detailed, right? What does that look like for you? What does that look like? And have it as a daily reminder. That way it keeps you on track, because when you wake up in the morning, you see the goal, it's go time. It's go time.
Right. It's holding on to those daily disciplines. It's so important, because I thought of that this morning too. I often say to myself when I get up, it's just so automatic to get up and make my bed. And I'm like, yeah, millionaires always make their beds, right? It's just one little check mark in a routine. So thank you for that reminder. And talking about vision and goals, are you aware of your own set of values? And, how has sort of an awareness of your personal values in life also helped steer your ship?
Absolutely. So belief is a big one, right? So I have to constantly remind myself to believe in myself. And what I have everything I have. I have everything I need in the present moment. And I'm only going to get better as time goes on. So I have to believe in myself. And how do I continue to believe in myself? Is I talk to myself often. I listen to very motivating or encouraging messages, right? On my playlist, I have a music playlist. I have a message playlist of videos and speakers and stories. So, and I write things out, right? I'm big on affirmations. So I write affirmations out every day, or I say it to myself verbally, because I have to talk to myself daily, because I have negative people. It doesn't matter how successful you are, or if you're living out your dreams or your passions, we still have moments of self-doubt. We still have moments of negative thinking or negative self-talk. But the difference is I have the tools to combat it now, right? I have tools, I have strategies to combat it. So belief is huge. My vision is huge, but more so attaching action to that vision. So whatever you envision for your life, you have to attach action to it. It ain't just going to come to you just by waking up. Okay, I had 10 minutes of imagery and visualization. Okay, now what do we do next? We have to attach action to it. It ain't just going to come to us. Yes, what we are seeking wants us to, but we have to put the work in, right? We have to put the time in, and then be persistent. This is probably the most important one, is overcoming the setbacks, the failures, the highs and the lows, because we don't live in victory every day. We don't. It was, as much as some people would love to admit that or say that, that's not true. At least not in my life, is that we don't live in victory every day. So I have to get up off the floor. I can't sulk. I can't victimize my mentality. I have to get up. What can I learn from this? I'm better than yesterday, because I'm learning something new today, regardless how I see it, but I'm learning something new. Now let's move forward and be persistent. Right. Keep and going.
Right. No, very good. And I also know that, the fastest path to, as you and I've learned, the fastest path to really achieving your action is also investing in yourself and the development of yourself. Talk to us a little about what you've done, not just recently, but perhaps your whole life in terms of self-development. How do you make that a priority?
So I know staying in shape, physical shape is huge for me, right? So that's an investment I have within my health. So I'm investing in my health, because I know when I feel better about myself, or when I look in the mirror and I'm confident about myself, it only helps me and only enhance me mentally and spiritually, right? Is because I have that confidence, because I like what I see in the mirror, right? Or I like the results that I'm seeing when it comes to my physical fitness or my physical health. So that has to be something within my own life that's a priority for me. And always learning. I always have to keep learning, either whether reading books, listening to audiobooks, surrounding myself with like-minded or even more intelligent people. Because if I'm the best leader, if I'm the best, smartest person in the room, I have to find a new room.
Right. Hi there, it's Kim. And I wanted to just stop by and say, I hope that you're enjoying this episode. If you are, please be sure to like, review, and subscribe, whether you're on a podcast feed or the YouTube channel. As you know, putting out media takes time and effort, and we live for subscribers and reviews. So if you think this is a great podcast, please tell the world about us and be sure to subscribe. Thank you. Now let's get back to today's interview. No, excellent. And how do you choose what things to invest in personal development? If somebody's never really made this a priority and they hear you say that, where do you start? If somebody's not doing anything, what would you suggest they start with?
I think it has to start with the people you surround yourself with. That's an investment. It's surrounding yourself with people who are going to bring the very best out of you, right? Like the German poet Goethe, he said, if you treat people as they are, they become worse. If you treat people as they could be, they become who they should be. So you need to surround yourself with people who see you for who you can become, not for who you are, but who you can become. When you do that, you can't help but feel better about yourself. You cannot help but elevate what you're doing and consistently evaluating and reflecting on your life. Okay, what did I do today? What did I do today to improve my life, to get what I want? I say these things, I want this, I have visions, I have dreams. Okay, that's great. Now what are we going to do next, right? So I think it really starts with the group of people you surround yourself with, as Les Brown always says, right? What is it? Call it only OQP, right?
OQP, right.
Only quality people. So, and that couldn't be more true in my life. And then as an educator and as a coach, I see it every day. Those who surround themselves with negative people who bring negative vibrations or negative energy or negative thoughts, they do negative things, right? But then when I see people who surround themselves with like-minded or people who are even not smarter or better than they are, they only improve, they only get better. And I see that on a daily basis with the teenagers I see walking around campus, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking too, we're still in it to some degree, the great pandemic of 2020, and now we're almost through 2021 and we're still living it. And I know that California was one of the hardest hit states, and there's been a lot of discussion lately about the mental state and the increased anxiety and unsettlement. There's been an increase in domestic violence and an increase in issues. How are you actually interacting with your students at school to help them kind of alleviate that anxiety and regroup almost to come back to some level of normalcy? How are you influencing them? And I know that came a little out of left field, so if you need to think about it, that's fine.
No, because I see it on a daily basis. Some kids, so masks are required in the classroom, but once we get outside, it's optional. You don't have to wear your mask anymore, right? But here's the thing about that. I find that very fascinating is kids who, even outside and no one's around them, they're still wearing their mask. They have their hood on. So it's some kids, this is just my interpretation of it, is some of them are hiding. They're still in hiding. They're still not being who they are because they're covering their face. So you can't really see what they look like, right? Besides their eyes and their eyebrows or what have you. And I found that to be very fascinating because even with the social distancing requirements or regulations or what have you, even when they're by themselves or walking home or whatever it may be, a lot of the kids still wear their masks. So I don't know if that's interesting. Obviously fear from the pandemic, or it's just they feel more comfortable staying covered up and kind of hidden, right? So I don't know. But I just know that when the kids step up to my classroom, when they were in my presence, I let them know, hey, if you're having a bad day, things are just not going your way this morning or today, you had a bad moment at home, talk to me. Talk to me, and we'll figure something else out. You don't have to either participate for today, or maybe you just do the bare minimum, but I want to work with you because I understand it's tough times for us. So as an adult, as a parent, as an educator, and as a coach, yes, I also experienced the pandemic, but I never experienced this pandemic as a teenager where I'm developing physically, I'm developing mentally, right? I'm still not developed. I'm still growing. I'm still evolving as a human being biologically, right? So I have no idea what they're going through because I've never been through it at their age, where it's so important about socializing and the introverts and the extroverts and all these dynamics. And it's very interesting. It's a very fascinating day to live in today, especially in the school system, to see this kind of just, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just fascinating to me.
Right. It's a dichotomy, and it's an interesting observation that, it becomes a physical representation of a mental state of wanting to stay hidden. That's an interesting observation. So thank you for that. And yeah, I think the important thing is for us to be present and to be willing to listen, and even adult to adult to be open to saying it's okay to have a bad day, but talk about it. The problems start when you internalize it. So that's wonderful. And I know you recently had a career change or a job change. Talk to us a little about what drove that decision and how you ended up doing what you're doing, Art, because I love hearing your stories.
So the pandemic shut down all sports here in California. I was a head football coach at that time, and there was no football going on. So I couldn't interact with my kids. We couldn't even work out or train for the upcoming season. And then eventually it was canceled. And I began to take courses, right? Investing in myself for personal development. So I signed up for Les Brown's class. I saw it on Instagram. And I was like, you know what? I enjoy speaking. I kind of feel like I have a knack for it or a talent for it. And I want to enhance that, right? And I spoke, even before that course, I would still speak locally, right? I still spoke locally, but I wanted a bigger platform. I want a bigger audience. I want to reach more people and also improve my skill set, right? To get better at it. So I did that. And then sure enough, I was able to speak on Les Brown's Power Voice 4, I believe. Right. And I co-authored a book just recently. We launched this book next month. So I was a co-author of this book. And the book is called The Impact of Influence. And the gist of the book is somebody or something who impacted your life, what it taught you, what you learned from that, and how are you using that influence on your platform today. So I'll talk about that. I have a whole chapter, 2,500 words. And these things would never have transpired if it wasn't for the pandemic, because I would have been so busy and consumed with football that I just wouldn't have time for it, right? So this created a whole new, I don't know how to, this avenue or journey, right? Or next season in my life. So what I did was, I know what I could do in the football coaching world, right? I know what I can do there. But this other speaking, being a national speaker, being on podcasts, being an author, I know nothing about. So let's try it. I'm not going to live life with regrets. So let's take a risk. Let's try it. Let's invest in this thing. Let's commit to this thing. That's what I did. So how do you show how do you know if you're about being how serious you are? Is by your action and your decision. So I resigned. I resigned as a head football coach. 10 days later, I get another job offer from another school. And not only I'm no longer a head coach, but I got a huge pay increase financially. $25,000 and more I received as far as financial increase, going from one school to the next school, all because I took a step back and I made the decision not to be a head coach anymore, right? So not only did it benefit me financially, but also benefited me to where I can do these very things that you and I are doing this morning, right? So, and then now I'm working on my next book, where this book's going to be just my name's going to be on this one. So it's going to be a leadership book. I'm not quite set on the title just yet, but it's a work in progress as we speak. As you know, it takes a little time. Anything of value, anything of worth always takes time. So I'm doing that right now. I'm writing my book. So these are things that kind of transpired, and at speaking opportunity as well. My goodness, Kim, this just the things I was able to provide and add value to not only my life, but to people I interact with and people that I speak with and present to. Yes. I've only gotten so much better from it, right? So we'll see what happens.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's so exciting. It's so exciting because, like you said, many of us during the pandemic stumbled on Les Brown's program. And that's where I've met so many amazing people like yourself. And we've all opened up new avenues in our journeys because we've made that step. So I think that, the lesson for the listeners is, no matter what's going on in your life, sometimes if you hit a pause moment, it's like, what can you do while you're in that pause moment? What can you do to leverage? You never know what the next chapter is going to hold. So it really brings together those themes of personal development, self-belief, focus, and attitude. So Art, this has been delightful. So how would you summarize the mission of Art? What is your life mission right now? What is your vision that you're working on?
I just want to maximize every gift and talent I've been given. have been blessed with, right? That's all I want to do. I want to maximize everything that I've been giving. And I want to give that back. That's why I'm in the profession I'm in, teaching and coaching, because I want to give everything I've learned and continue to learn back to my community, right? To the students and the youth of this community. So someone like me, I'm always going to look for something. I get bored easily, Kim, right? So if you give me too much time, I'm going to figure something else out to do, right? That's what happened during the pandemic. I got bored, and I'm here now because of that, right? So just just evolution, always wanting to get better, always know that I'm not the smartest guy in the room, always understand that I have to have a humble but yet confident mentality as far as presenting my personal development, right? I don't know everything. I know a few things, but I'm not a master just yet, right? Becoming a master of my craft. So I'm on this journey, Kim, and I don't know where the end result's going to be. Even if I think I know what the end result's going to be, I'm going to find something else to do. I'm going to find some other challenge to take on, right? So I'm just really excited to see where this new chapter and this new season in my life is going to take me and what I'm going to learn from it and the people I'm going to meet during this journey, because it's already been so great thus far, right? And I'm just never satisfied, Kim. I don't know what it is, but I'm just never satisfied. And I just want to be the best father I can be to my two children, right? My 4-year-old son and my 1-year-old daughter, a best spouse I can be to my wife. And we're a team, right? So my wins are their wins and their wins are my wins. We're a team. So even that in itself is a win. Just breaking generational negative cycles of divorce or substance abuse. Those are the very things that has happened within my own family. So I guess that kind of sums it up there.
Wow. Yes, absolutely. It's like, and I wanted to go back to something you said there where you said, I'm never satisfied. Some people would see that as a negative. And I say, that's part of self-growth, because if you become self-satisfied, you hit a point of complacency where you just like hang out, and before you know it, you're just stuck in a rut and it's harder to get going. Momentum is an incredible law of nature. And to see momentum, once you start achieving things and to maintain that momentum, it's easier to stay in motion than to try and get into motion. And I think you're a prime example of that. And I love how you said you're going to maximize what you already have. Just really good stuff. I knew I wanted to listen to you. So as we sort of come in here for the close in these last few minutes, what life learning would you offer the listeners to help them step into being the best selves they can be?
It goes back to what we talked about earlier. You have to invest in yourself. You have to bet on you. I think oftentimes people get caught up, especially when they have a family or they get into a profession they've been doing for 10 plus years and they kind of feel like they're stuck, but yet they don't want to leave because the income it provides them and the stability it provides them and their family. But yet they're not living what they want. They think of when they go to sleep at night or when they wake up in the morning or they're in their morning commute, they have all these dreams and visions for their life. And to themselves, they don't think that's attainable. It's like, these are just dreams, but it can become your very reality. So instead of worrying about what other people think about you or based on your decisions, go after what you want. And again, when you go after what you want, Kim, do you ever regret that? I don't think anyone ever regrets going after what they truly want and what they're really passionate about and what they have desires for, because those desires are placed there for a reason. They're not just there because God put it there. He put it there because these are the gifts that he has given you, and he wants to see you flourish. He wants to see you win in this life and do what you love to do on a daily basis, right? So I just highly recommend people who are listening this morning or evening or afternoon, wherever you're at, is that if you want something bad enough, just go do it. You just got to go do it, right? And you'll never know. You cannot have what you want unless you change your thinking, right? You have to think in ways you never thought. You have to do things you've never done to get what you never had. You can't continue to do the same thing over and over again. It goes back to the definition of insanity, is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. No, you got to change things up a little bit, right? As the baseball terminology goes in baseball with the pitcher, you got to have a change up in there, right? You have to have the curveball. So that would be my advice.
Right. Bet on yourself. I love that. Yeah, I love that, because it's about just go do it. There'll never be a right time. I'm reminded of in the Bible how it says, the man who watches the clouds will never plant. It's like there's never a right time in your life. If something's important enough to you, you do need to just go do it. So what a pleasure, Art. This has been fabulous. As I said, for the listeners, just so that we started this interview at 6:30 a.m. Art's time, which tells you how committed he is to his dream and what he does. And as we close out, any final thoughts that you'd like the listeners to remember about you, Coach?
I'm just here to serve. I'm just here to serve and give everything I've learned through my life and give that back, because so much has been given to me, right? As my favorite book says, to whom much is given, to whom much is required. And so when I reach the pearly gates, right, when my life ends on this earth, because I'm going to live on after this. When I meet my maker, I want him to say this very phrase is, well done, good and faithful servant, right? Because that's what I'm about. I'm here to serve other people, to get them to become the best version of themselves while I'm doing it. Because I'm never going to ask anything of anyone that I haven't done myself or I'm not willing to do. And that's my mindset every day. So there we go.
Oh, fabulous. Well, thank you so much again for your time, Art. And I know that people are going to enjoy listening to you and certainly giving young people encouragement in everything you do.
Thank you so much, Kim. It's been a pleasure.